It's time for the KickAround, the Ticket's weekly show all about soccer. 2 hours of HSOs on the clubs, leagues, and tournaments of the world's game. It doesn't matter if you're new to the sport, don't worry. This is the Ticket. We're just kicking it around. Now, here's two guys who still have their moms drive them to practice. Andy Swift and Peter Welton.
Kimmich, lovely work here. Davies and Leonard Carr! Right at the death! By the look of things, they've turned what looked like a defeat into a victory.
Idaho P1s, and welcome to the KickAround Saturdays, whenever they put us on the radio here on 96.7 and 1310. The Ticket Sports Radio, where you, the good P1, sits around, talks soccer, and all that implies. Don't forget, you can find us on our website, thekickaround.com. Hello, I'm Peter, and to my left, but to your right, as you stare with great enthusiasm into your broadcast box or streaming device, it is the world's most interesting man in Mr. Dallas Cup, Andy Swift.
Hello, Peter. Are we officially on our way to World Cup now that we have all the brackets set? Right? I mean, this is what we were waiting for.
We do.
It is.
I love soccer.
There we go.
I can't wait. We're so close. Andy, we know all 48 teams.
Yes.
All right, so today is a short and sweet one because Dallas Stars hockey kicks off even earlier than normal. So we're going to be on till 1:30, 4 segments. Now, Andy and I thought about taking this weekend off, but no, you, the soccer-loving P1, deserved a kick around today because the playoffs were done. We know the teams.
Yeah. It's a significant week. We could not take off.
And I feel like all of the American fans need a little bit of a hug after the last
including
week.
You.
Including me.
Because, and I know we're going to talk about the U.S. here immediately, but what do you call it? Your
wiener?
That too. No, your temperature for how you feel about the U.S. heading into the World Cup. It just goes up and down. Like
it is a
seasonally.
roller coaster. It is a roller coaster, but isn't it for most World Cup teams?
Sure. Well, I don't know. Some teams like Spain, for example.
Okay.
It's pretty even.
Yeah, there are definitely ones that have probably been a pretty steady ride. But if you're an English fan, you got to be all over the map right now.
Okay, so let's talk about that when we talk about the U.S. because I know you want to.
Well, we'll get into. We're gonna goof the show up a little bit today. We'll move headlines to a shorter segment. We are going to go and just discuss the impact to the changes of the 6 groups that now have been completed, because it's interesting to me how the results of the playoffs since we last spoke to you has actually kind of changed the tournament a little bit in some ways because of the teams that are in it. But I want to start with the discussion about the U.S. men's national team.
And that's what I was going to ask you. As it relates to what you just said, don't all teams go through that, like England, for example? But I don't know if the swing is quite as extensive as it is with the national team. Because last summer, you were down low, right? And you representative of the fan base. You were like, this team can't, what are we going to do? This is terrible. We're not going to advance out of group play. Then the fall.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
I may have said
in the fall, a great window. Uruguay, Paraguay, right?
More than that. They got some good
Phenomenal.
results.
Poch suddenly became the greatest coach on earth. Man, you think semifinals? I mean, it went up like you even on air. You were saying like, man, I'm not worried anymore. You were telling Carlisle before this window.
Yes, you're correct. You are not misrepresenting my mood and attitude.
And what is your mood now?
It is more resigned.
And hopefully we advance out of group play.
No.
Okay.
Here's the thing I've come to realize, and obviously for those who haven't been paying attention, since we last talked to you, the U.S. played its 2 friendlies, one against Belgium, one against Portugal, and they lost both of them. And here's the thing. I don't know how much you can actually take away from these 2 games because of 2 things. There are a lot of missing players that are critical to the success of this team in the World Cup. And 2, I think my biggest frustration with what happened in the last week is the amount of just continued goofing around and tweaking and trying and experimenting that Pochettino was doing in this window. Because I would even make the argument that it was almost like there were 4 different games played. The first halves of each of the games was very different because of the new substitution rule. Do you realize that between the 2 games there was
22?
There were more than 30 substitutions made between the 2.
30.
There were 18 substitutions alone in the U.S.-Belgian game.
Counting both teams is what you're saying. Yeah.
Both teams
got it. Yeah.
Across both.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
And so when you make that much change in a game, you've essentially rendered it into nothing more than
the
a
second
scrimmage.
half, of course, yes. And that's when you just try to find little things out about players individually, not the collective.
But I think it also affects the first half, because if a player knows he's only playing 45 minutes, I don't think they treat the game the same way they would if they think they may have to go 90.
Okay, so let's take out of the worry equation that particular issue. You know, we didn't get to see players together. We didn't get to see the full extent of what X player can do over a whole game because he only played a half. We didn't get to see X and Y play together. This player wasn't even on the roster, blah, blah, blah. So let's just talk big picture about what is going on. You have your coach who had a 4-man back line for a long time and it wasn't working, and then he switched to a 3-man back line and it worked wonderfully. Mm-hmm. Revert back to a 4-man back line for 2 games, okay? So maybe because all personnel weren't there, maybe, okay? He's got such confidence in his 4 strikers that he didn't use any of them. None of them started that second game. Instead, he used the best playmaker as a false 9 for the first time ever.
Yeah.
2 months before the World Cup. So maybe he's like testing different things because he feels really, really comfortable about how things are going to be otherwise. So he's now testing things. Fair, okay, we don't know. He's only got 2 friendlies before the World Cup actually starts.
Germany and Senegal.
To play for real, but practice for real, right? But that's also not my worry. My worry is, man, I sound like a broken record, but you still need to have tactical consistency at center back.
Preach. Amen. Hallelujah.
Okay, so,
yes.
And the other important thing is you're holding mid. We feel pretty good about Adams. There's an injury worry.
Sure.
And we know it's not going to be the same. We just found out not going to be the same if he's not around. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of a worry. But we can't do anything about that. There's something that can be done about that consistency at center back, and I don't feel like that's really been, I don't know, given as much importance, or maybe he just hasn't been able to do it, so he's like, whatever, we're going to do other crazy things. I don't know.
I think the problem for me is tied to all of this, which is I can't figure out if he's tweaking and twisting the knobs this late or this long before the tournament is right around the corner, because he's so comfortable and he feels like he's afforded himself this,
like he's a super genius and we don't even see what he sees.
He's playing 4D chess.
Or we're all incredibly confused, including him.
Yes, and he's just so freaked out that he's like, I got to try other things because what I've got at my – and here's the part that bothered me, which was in the first game against Belgium when Weston scored that goal. Did you see his lack of reaction to that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I said at the time, I think that's a bad sign. See, I think Pochettino has been very telling as to his attitude about this job and his actual sense of reality of what he's gotten himself into over the course of the 2 years he's been with the team. And I go back and I think about that moment when Pulisic waved him off on the substitution against Canada, and the look on Pochettino's face, like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is happening to me? Yeah. And I think about that moment in the goal. And he said after the game, he goes, the reason why is because I was disappointed it was our first goal. We should have scored 2 or 3 goals before that. And I saw bigger problems. In my gut, I knew what was about to happen.
And what was your thought when you saw? I mean, is that what you thought?
Yes. At the time, I'm like, he's not happy. Like, for him to sit there and not react to Weston scoring against Belgium on a really nicely designed set piece play tells me he's got got much bigger problems in his head, which now takes me back to this part, which is he playing 4D chess and just goofing around, or is he really got a much bigger worry about what's going to happen with this team going into the World Cup?
Because he knows once that whistle blows for that first World Cup game and moving forward, it's a much different story. They're not friendlies, and what he's seen is not good enough. And then telling also what he said after the second match about not having any top 100 players.
Oh my God! What's going on there?
Terrible in the room now. In the locker room, that probably didn't resonate well. I don't know if it was motivation or if he's just frustrated. Certain amount of truth, I guess. You might have a couple guys that are top 100. I don't know.
After or in the lead up to the Portugal game, there's another quote from him. I should have pulled this, although I don't always pull Pochettino quotes because it's hard to understand him sometimes because his English isn't great. But essentially, he was making a comment about the friendly between Colombia and France that had been played the day before. Now, he was like, now that is a game being played at full pace and with full passion and 100% commitment by two teams. And the funny part about that was the night before when that game was on live, it happened to be on one of the TVs at Spectrum when I was out for my Tuesday night beer league. And I happened to see it out of the corner of my eye. And the first thing that I noticed was exactly that, the intensity and the pace. And I was so surprised by it. My initial reaction was, oh, this must be like an old 22 or 18 World Cup game.
And it was just a friendly.
And it was a friendly being
that was
aired
France,
live.
Colombia?
France, Colombia. And it was a great game. And I think that to me is more of Pochettino trying to communicate that he has a concern about how this group of players treats being on the national team.
He did say something about that after the Belgium game. He said that he didn't see the intensity.
I know, and I think,
and I don't blame him because I know it's a friendly, but it's your almost last friendly before the World Cup against a class team. Belgium is one of the tops, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can't get fired up for that.
You probably have a much better perspective about this, but I've talked to friends of mine that are Argentinian, not Americans that are Argentinian, but are Argentinian, and kind of learn from them how they perceive the game. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to me how different it is. Like when he talks about being committed and 100% and all of this stuff and a professional, I just think that means something different to him than it does to Pulisic and McKennie and all the other guys. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong. It's just different.
1,000% yes. But remember, it's also Argentina. So they're the uber extreme example of that. Argentina, Brazil, Italy. The three uber extreme examples. Then you have your England's, Germany, Spain. But yes, very different. This is not. I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but in certain soccer cultures, when a player puts on his national team jersey and wears the national team crest, it is the there's nothing more important in his life that he has done before or since, or it is just the ultimate.
Right.
And here, it's like, well, club more important. Some people's national teams more important. Like, there are some soccer cultures where nothing in soccer is more important than wearing that national team jersey for an A game or for a D game, for
the U16s.
Yeah. And that's, so it is what it is, though.
We'll talk about it more later. I think it almost kind of relates to how I react to Jamaica, which is, guys, you have a chance to go to the World Cup, and you are playing
any of that
like
come
this?
Across? Exactly. Yeah.
And so I don't think this is an American exclusive
no.
thing.
We're comparing it to what you brought. Those uber.
But here's
soccer
the deal.
Cultures.
So I don't know. Everybody, you can.
And it's important. Pochettino comes from one of those.
100%.
Right. So that's the context that we're.
And so a lot of me kind of reading between the lines with Pochettino is my sense that he's taken this job and now he's walked in and see how the sausage is made, and he's like, I don't like the ingredients.
Yeah, or he's frustrated that he knew and he thought he could change it.
And he can't. Yeah. And now he's got the whole thing, the lifted skirt of Real Madrid and Tottenham and all of that's going on.
But I think he can not think. I mean, I think he's focused on world. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
No, but 100%. I don't want to get in. Yeah. Here's just a telling thing. So in the 2-0 loss to Portugal, FOTMOB. I don't know how much you take player ratings out of any platform. Your mileage may vary. Who do you think?
My eyes.
Yeah.
Peter, my eyes.
Okay,
are the
so
point.
who do you think was the best rated player for the United States versus Portugal?
Turner?
No.
Was I close?
No.
Okay.
It was Aiden Morris with a 7.1.
Oh, wow. I would have never had. Would
Middles,
you have ever?
No. Mm-mm. Austin Trusty was second with a 6.8, and Malik Tillman with a 6.5.
Which I guess shows you that the team was not great.
No.
But
both
that's
of the
AI.
games,
That's not human eyes.
I think FOTMOB is a mixture of some things. But anyway, my point, I think my reaction out of both these games is that when the first halves were happening, there were absolutely moments in time where I didn't feel bad about the team because they were trying something different. But it was clearly not a structure that benefits this team for the parts that he has. Mm-hmm. So my question is, why is he trying a back four instead of a back three?
That's what we come up with. Is he super genius and is just trying, or is he as confused as we are?
Well, I also wonder if he just thinks that if they're going to be dangerous at all, they need to take off a center back and throw on a midfielder or an attacker of some point.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if he's just trying to force that instead of being what I think he needs. And again, remember, this is this whole thing about managers coming into national teams never having managed a national team before and how much club level thinking they put into these roles. And I do wonder if he just, Berhalter had this problem for a long time, which is
it's the main problem.
Maybe what you really need to do is simplify this, play back, kind of absorb pressure, and then break.
Yeah.
And that's what the U.S. could be really good at if they would just focus on it.
That was Berhalter's main problem. Really successful national team coaches of the superpowers and all those strong clubs, they do that. They simplify tactics and rely on the strength of whatever soccer strength that country has and the identity that they're known for.
Yeah. Well, the bad mood
and we haven't had that in a while with the U.S. national team.
The bad mood will loom over us for another several weeks until the Germany and Senegal games happen. And even then, I'm not sure what you're going to take away from that because I don't know how seriously anybody takes
exactly.
those games.
At that point,
You're so close to the tournament. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Andy needs a hug. Next on the Kick Around. Welcome back to the Kick Around. We'll get into the changes in the World Cup groups now that we know all the teams here in about 15 minutes. But first, let's do the most important and serious of all the segments.
I'm confused, Peter.
I know, we're doing it backwards
What's
today.
going on?
Oh, wait, hold on.
Walk on. All right, let's get it out of the way. Liverpool was playing like doo-doo. Mm-hmm. Yes, anything else?
FA Cup weekend. Woke up this morning in my footy pajamas to watch City and Liverpool.
You know, the FA Cup's really lost a lot of its pizzazz. It's just not what it used to be.
You don't even care about winning it anymore?
Yeah, just like, you know.
Andy, I've been thinking all morning trying to come up with the best way to try to explain the 2025-26 Liverpool season. And if you don't know...
To explain to me or just explain in general?
To anybody that asks.
P1? Okay.
Yeah, because if you haven't heard, City destroyed Liverpool today 4-0.
That's harsh.
Erling Haaland has a hat trick, and they said in the game, this is a stunning... He's the first City player to score a hat trick against Liverpool in almost 100 years.
Seriously?
Yeah, last time was... I don't remember the player's name. Was back in 1937.
Yeah, we're a broken team. This is a broken team. It is.
It's awful, dude.
It is. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is. It is. What can I say? I mean, what more can you say? We've been talking about this train wreck for a while.
I know, but I don't know. Watching Salah half-ass it around and Van Dijk.
I wish I could have told you I predicted this would end up with Salah this way, but I did. Look, lots of things are going wrong. I don't see how they don't move from Slot.
But is it Slot's fault? Isn't there bigger things going on?
There's a lot of things, but you know what it is? The Dutch coach personality, when things go wrong, sometimes is not the best personality to right the ship.
That sounds familiar.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's widely known that tactically they're good. And this is why Slot was perfect for last season's team. They came in like all cylinders, right? Everything was in place. All he had to do was just say the right things, control the room, good training. And now year 2, when things start to go wrong a little bit, it just the type of personality,
and introduce a bunch of new faces,
right, and create relationships, and they're just that it's not their strength.
Man, City made it look so easy today, and I'm thinking if you're Arsenal, you're like, oh man, the last thing we need right now is for City to find a gear. And another thing, I just real quickly about City, I just want to comment that I think I have to admit I was wrong about Shirky in the Premier League. I was really worried that he'd show up and just be too much of a wild card and not be able to play within Pep's system. But somehow, some way, all of that stuff that he brings to the game is still there.
The shenanigans also included?
Well, sure. But within Pep's system, and he's just, dude, that dude's a blast to watch.
For sure. City, that wasn't, if you're a City fan, that was a good game to watch. I mean, do they have enough in the tank? Do they have enough to overcome that deficit in the league to catch up to Arsenal? I don't know.
Probably not, but I think they're going to give everybody a run for a couple. I mean, they've already won one trophy. If Pep ends the season with a couple of trophies and a good, solid second place in the Premier League, and I guess they're falling. Yeah, I don't know how anybody's going to grade this season for him because they can't win Champions League.
Yeah.
They may not win the Premier League, but they'll end up with 2 trophies. But not the
big 2,
right? Not the big ones.
Yeah.
The other game that's going on right now is Chelsea hosting Port Vale. Now, Port Vale is in League One, the 3rd tier, but they are in last place. They are in 24th place and probably almost certainly going to get relegated down to League 2.
Yeah.
But they've made it to this quarterfinal of the FA Cup, and they are getting stomped by Chelsea 4-0. But are you paying attention to the weird stuff going on with Chelsea between the losses being announced?
Let me correct you. The weird stuff going on this week with Chelsea.
Fair. That's very fair.
Right? I mean, It seems like there's always some drama coming out of Chelsea, whether it's a new penalty because of infractions they've committed or a new coach or stupid spending. Like, what is up with this club?
It's the Todd Bowley thing, and it's the structure in which Todd Bowley's company has chosen to run this club, and the fact that it's very much a top-down thing, and that's why they've got a guy like Liam Rosenior managing the team.
Which we don't know how long he has, but go on. What's this week's drama?
Well, so 2 of his players did interviews and said stuff that I'm like, whoa, I can't believe they said that out loud. First off, Cucurella, who I think's a good team player, is talking about, when they made the changes to Maresca, that was weird and kind of threw us back, and some of the player acquisitions is really weird. And then Enzo Fernandez, who clearly has got a growing rift with the club, comes out and talks about wanting to live in Madrid, and it's clearly making references to going to Real Madrid. But here's the problem with all of this. All of these guys, even if they want to get rid of them, are on these ridiculous Todd Bowley deals. Do you realize Enzo Fernandez is under contract until 2031?
Oh, wow. Jeez.
He's 25 years old, and he's under contract until 2031. It's like an episode of the Jetsons.
If he wants to go to Madrid, Madrid will have to pay a pretty penny for him, and Chelsea will just jack up the price.
But Madrid doesn't buy players like that.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that won't happen.
And here's the problem for the players. They agreed to this to come here in the first place. Yeah. And so they've kind of painted themselves into a corner too.
So now the coach suspended him for saying those things?
Yeah, so that's the next thing. So he's not playing for Chelsea today, and they suspended Fernandez. He's not playing in the game against City next week.
Because he said he's interested in perhaps going to Madrid one day.
Yes, but they didn't suspend Cucurella for the stuff he said.
Right. And didn't the coach who suspended him bolt from wherever he was as coach in the middle of the season and just left them high and dry? So that's pretty hypocritical. I don't think that guy has the locker room, right? He does not have the room. Yeah. I don't think they like him at all.
No. Lars calls him
the LinkedIn coach.
LinkedIn manager.
Which is a great way to describe it.
It's weird, and this all comes on the heels of the announcement of the amount of money that club has lost in the last season, and yet somehow, some way, they have, shenaniganed their way to avoid a point penalty when you go back and think about what happened to Leicester.
This is what happened. You guys have lost too much money, therefore you will be fined more money, so you lose more money.
Yes. Real quick, I hope everybody has gotten a chance to see the new. We love World Cup commercials. The Nike Brazil World Cup commercial, airport, best Burt commercial of all time. The Nike was it the Adidas Satan commercial? Whoever did the one with the players back when they were all trapped in hell playing soccer against Satan.
Yeah,
that was a great commercial. Well, Lego has a fantastic new commercial out, and it features Ronaldo, Mbappe, Messi, and Vinny Jr. in it with the new Lego World Cup trophy.
Yeah. All supposedly in the same room and not AI.
When I saw it, I immediately, because I don't trust anything anymore. Because the day before, I don't know if everybody's seen the Squid Game soccer 9 minutes short film somebody created.
Too long.
It's too long, but it is shockingly good at replicating like a long history of soccer greats and putting them into Squid Games. That's weird to watch because the next day I see the Lego commercial and I'm like, oh, this has to be AI.
Yeah.
And no,
Ronaldo looked
not
like AI.
It's a real thing.
Huh.
Did you like the commercial?
I thought it was until the very end. I think it has a good
punch to it. And in the fallout, and we'll talk about a little bit more about this in a second, in the fallout of Italy, since we last talked.
We don't have enough time before break because this is a good conversation. We have to roll this over.
Okay, we will. Italy missing out on its third straight World Cup.
Yeah, Italy, 4-time world champion.
Third straight World Cup. The last time Italy played in a World Cup, Luis Suarez was chomping on somebody's shoulder.
The last time they got out of group play was 2006, 20 years ago.
There's literally a generation of Dallas Cowboy fans, their version of Cowboy fans, who only know Italy failing to make the World Cup.
They're Italian teenagers that don't know their team not sucking.
Well, they did win the Euros in this process.
That was a one-off. The way this looks, that's a one-off.
I know. And now Gattuso has resigned. Gabrielle Gravina, the president of the federation, she stepped down.
You know what's surprising about all that? That it wasn't within 24 hours. That it was actually...
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And Buffon, who was head of delegation or whatever.
Yeah, he's out.
He's smoking a cigarette somewhere, yes.
But he's out too?
But he's out too.
Okay.
Here's the craziest part to me of Italy missing a third World Cup. It's not that they just missed a third World Cup. The third World Cup they missed was the expanded 16 additional team World Cup.
Yeah, FIFA with their Italian presidents like, let's expand the World Cup because Italy's not getting in. Okay, let's make it 48. Italy for sure will get in. Nope. And now we're going to hear about 64-team World Cup next World Cup. Somehow Italy has to get in.
Did you watch the game?
Yes.
Were you able? I didn't know. Well, I didn't know if you were able to with Dallas Cup and everything.
No, but it's World Cup related, right? You have to.
Unbelievable.
I thought we were going to talk about it because we're late. We're going to keep
We are.
talking
We'll keep
about
talking
this.
about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because it completely changes Canada's group.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
All right, we'll talk about that next. All the changes to the groups. But now that we know all 48 teams, we'll do that next year on the KickAround.
The Milwaukee Messi, the New England Revolution homegrown player, turned 21 2.5 weeks ago, can send Bosnia and Herzegovina to the World Cup. And he does! It got underneath Donnarumma! The Italian curse continues. Bosnia and Herzegovina will play in the FIFA World Cup.
Oof. There it is. Italy failing to qualify for a third straight World Cup. And yeah, I know it probably annoyed some people that John Strong made a big deal out of it, but the fact that it comes at the foot of a 19-year-old American kid who comes out through the MLS Academy is very funny to me.
Sure, and why does it annoy people that he, these are moments, and he gets excited.
It's also the American broadcast. This isn't like a global feed. He's actually speaking to an American audience, and I think the fact that it's an American who comes up through the MLS Academy is of value, but I saw a lot of people that were very unhappy with John Strong for making a deal out of that.
God, man.
Because I think over the course of the game, they had repeatedly kept driving the fact that he was from Wisconsin.
Okay, then
blah,
that
blah,
maybe.
Blah, blah.
Okay, maybe
and then,
that.
So when you got to that point, if you were rooting for Italy, I'm sure that very much
Well,
rubbed you the
sorry
wrong
if
way.
you were rooting for Italy and then the announcer gets excited that you're eliminated for a third straight World Cup, but that's on you. So and maybe I'm a little bit.
I love Salty Andy.
Maybe there's a little bit of glee because I told you the story. I'm going to tell it in 30 seconds. Stand by for a quick fire story, not at Gordon's pace, but at Andy's pace. So I was in vacation in Chile in 2017. Right, this is before the 2018 World Cup, and I met some Italian tourists. That were there also, and we got to talk, and I lived in the U.S. and MLS, and he's like, and I said, there's Giovenco, good Italian player in MLS. He's like MVP. He's like, yeah, he's good. He's your best player. No, he's Italian. He can't even make our national team, but he's a good player in MLS. No, like yes, he's best player in MLS. No, he can't make our national. So ever since he said that, they haven't qualified for a World Cup. Your national team that Giovenco couldn't have played for, despite him being MLS's MVP. And an American kid from Wisconsin, academy product, scores the winning PK. So, I don't know.
He's really good, by the way. It's a shame that he ended up on the Bosnian national team and not the U.S. team.
Maybe they recruited better. Anyway, so that means that Italy did not go through and Bosnia did, which is a great story in itself.
And that means... related to this segment, which is us reviewing the changes to the 6 groups for the World Cup, it does impact how I'm wondering how it impacts your feeling about Canada's chances now of coming out of Group B that you're playing Bosnia instead of Italy.
Yeah, so Bosnia's still a good team. We saw it. And Italy has its issues. So, it's not like they'll have an easy game now compared to Italy. The difference is that Italy in Toronto is almost like the home team because there's so many Italians in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is the first game Canada plays. Will be this game in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this will help that regard a little bit. It'll feel like a home game for Canada. But Bosnia's still a decent side. But, yeah, it's not in Italy. And what do we say about the superpowers in World Cups? Once they put on that jersey and wear that crest, whether they've been good or bad in qualifier and leading up, they tend to rise. Early games, maybe not so much, but by the end of the tournament, they're playing well.
And I think that was the reason why people were like, if Italy can just figure out a way to get into the tournament, they'll be the Italy of old. Yes. They'll almost certainly grow into the space that
they've... the Italy of old. You mean the Italy from 20, 30 years ago?
Generation ago.
Okay.
All right, I do. So Group B is now Canada, Bosnia, Qatar, and Switzerland. This, I think, like many groups now, with the way this is played out, really begins to highlight how weird this World Cup is going to be, because getting out of a group stage, to me now, is not the achievement it normally is in a World Cup.
Yeah, especially because third placers.
That's what
Yeah, well, there's two things. There's the minnow in the group now is a little bit more minnow than it used to be in some groups. And the third place teams for most groups advance also, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, and I do feel, I'm not going to lie, I do feel better about Canada's chance of advancing now, although I still think Switzerland is the strongest team in that, clearly the strongest team in that group. Right?
Yeah. Now, Canada's got a lot of injury situations.
Yeah, they do.
And
key spots.
And they didn't have good friendlies either.
And they don't have the depth that other teams have.
All right.
But they're at home. So
before we get to the other A and D group, just real quick, the odds for who's going to win or what place teams will come in through the quarterfinals have been released. No surprise, Andy's pre-tournament favorite Spain are on top.
Oh man, I'll have to change that.
At plus 450.
Okay.
And they're plus 450 to win the tournament. France is second, along with England at plus 600.
Okay.
And then Brazil and Argentina.
Surprised Brazil is that high, honestly.
I know
too. It's just because it's Brazil. That's the only reason.
Brazil was terrible against France the other day.
Yeah, they did beat Croatia, but
The United States is down there and then this is weird because some of this table has teams at plus minus, and then it switches like Argentina at plus 850, and then right behind them Portugal at 11-1. And I don't understand why they've mixed these.
Yeah, it's the same odds. It's same odds. Teams like favorites with favored odds, those can fluctuate, and so you see 450, that can be plus 500, it can be plus 450, but essentially when you see something 11-1, 14-1, those are teams with longer odds. They're not going to fluctuate as much, but 11-1 is the same as plus 1100.
Ah, okay.
So when you see plus 450, you're not going to say plus 45-1, or
I see.
They're trying to, because that can fluctuate. Little details matter when it's shorter odds.
Well, it's interesting. They have the United States is down there just behind Morocco at 65-1.
That's to win it all?
That's to win it all.
Yeah, okay.
But make the finals, they're 18-1. To make the semis, they're plus 850. To make the quarterfinals, plus 275. And to win the group, they are plus 140. Weirdly, Mexico is actually 3 spaces behind them. They're at 70-1 to win the tournament. 25-1 to make the finals, and then even lesser odds to win their group. They're only at plus 110.
Yeah, they're a bit of a disaster right now, and the fan base is turning on them. That's a different story. We'll probably hit on that as we lead up to the World Cup. Interestingly, like Colombia and the U.S. have the same odds to reach the final, which we consider Colombia a pretty strong team, right? I guess the U.S. because they're at home.
Yeah. So all of those, ESPN posted those, and we'll post the link.
Those are going to change a little bit.
100%. Especially once we get through the May, early June game.
So now is a good time. Do you still feel England? Is that who you would pick now?
Or
do we have the first change?
Yeah.
Do we need the drum roll?
Yeah, England is such a weird bird, man. You know what? I am going to change.
Okay, here we go. Stand by.
Stand
by for Peter's change.
I'm switching. I'm now predicting France.
Whoa, France. Really going out on a limb, Peter. Wow. I'm going to hold you to that.
I went to the
picking France to win the World Cup. Man,
wait a second. Coming from the guy, who are you picking?
I was going to change to.
Oh, were you? Who are you going to change to?
France! They look so good.
Dumbest show about soccer in the entire world.
They look so good in those friendlies that don't matter, right?
Oh my gosh, the French look so dangerous. All over the place. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll know a lot more in the coming weeks and everything, but I'm just totally based on watching what I saw over the last week with them. It's like, oh my gosh, I forgot how good the French are from top to bottom. Yeah, they got so much depth. All right, let's go through. So Mexico now has to deal in Group A with the Czech Republic. And that is in a group with South Africa, South Korea, and them. I don't think that changes much for them, especially because they play the Czechs as their third game. So Mexico, I feel like, is probably feeling pretty good about this group.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been Denmark. Slightly a more dangerous team than I think the Czech Republic.
You would think so, but
slightly, but yeah, it's still. I think independent of that, I think Mexico will have, like, they open up against South Africa. That could be a 0-0 danger. Not that South Africa is good, because all the issues and the pressure Mexico's feeling. South Korea, that's a dangerous opponent, and then a European team. So, man, this is going to be an interesting group to watch. I think Mexico is kind of feeling it right now. They're under some pressure.
And then with Turkey being the team that ended up qualifying, as we all probably assumed they would, for Group D, the U.S.'s group, I was reading in one of the articles that this officially, mathematically, is the second most difficult group in the entire tournament, behind the group of death, which is the French, Norwegian, Senegal, and now Iraq.
Yeah. Does that surprise you? I was surprised to read that.
No, because I had done a lot of this math in the aftermath of the draw, and I saw this pretty early because one of the exercises I did was trying to make a determination of how much things will change when we figure, because each one of these had essentially 4 teams that could end up, and the changes. The volatility of how much a group could change between one possible progressor and another.
This one had the biggest delta.
The biggest one, because if you think about who could have ended up in this group versus ending up with Turkey, this went from being a relatively shoo-in group to now
a little bit tougher because of Turkey. I do think that this team doesn't have that strong team, iconic superpower, but they also don't have a give-me opponent.
No.
This is the one group that is pretty even top to bottom.
And what's really weird about this group now for the U.S. is that the U.S. has played all 3 of these teams in the last, I think, 18 months. They beat Paraguay and had that fight at the end of the game. They beat Australia less than a year ago, and they lost to Turkey in one of the very early Pochettino games. I think it was a Pochettino game. About 8 was that
I remember.
18 months ago or so. Look, I think with Turkey in the group, the only thing that helps the United States with Turkey is it's the 3rd game. If they can get the points they need in the first 2 games against Paraguay and Australia, it'll make the fact that now you're facing off against, as Lars says, the Forrest Gump box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get out of Turkey. Way less problematic.
So this is a question regarding the U.S. national team and Pochettino's tactics and tactically what he decided to do. The false 9. The Pulisic, using Pulisic as a false 9. Maybe it was he sees something with these teams, one of these teams, that is going to be the approach offensively because of the way they defend, whatever it is that he's seeing, and that's why he wanted to test it now.
My only running theory is that you bring in all of these forwards who are, by and large, playing very well for their club teams, and then you don't essentially play any of them in the second game because you want to play Pulisic as a false 9, is because you're simply trying to get Christian on track and a goal. And maybe if you play him more centrally and closer to goal, you can just break the proverbial dam with him. And sure enough, Pulisic, look, the problem with Pulisic out of these 2 games isn't an effort issue for me. He's just not finishing. He had plenty of opportunities to score. Some of them were just really horrible finishes, and some of them were just bad luck. I mean, there were a couple saves in the Portugal game that he just got super unlucky on.
So it's not to use Pulisic as a false 9 against Australia?
I don't think so.
Because that'll be a game that they maintain possession.
Look, again, this is what we talked about at the beginning of the show. I don't fully quite understand what Pochettino is doing, which
none of us do.
Which is part of the reason why I'm concerned about
we're all
all
confused.
of this. I mean, ultimately, I do feel like if you ask me today what I think is going to happen with the U.S., I think they're going to get out of their group one way or the other, and I think the odds are is they'll probably win around a 32 game.
Could be here July 3rd.
Yeah. But then they're going to bonk out again. Once they play a really substantial, probably European powerhouse. Yeah. I think it's just going to be kind of a repeat of the Netherlands game from the previous tournament.
And what we've seen in friendlies.
Yeah. They haven't beaten a European ranked team in like
a long
since
time.
The 80s or 70s.
No, that's definitely not true.
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying that wrong. The amount of time it's been since they've beaten a team like that is a stretch of time that that has not existed since like the 70s or 80s.
Ah, okay.
I'm sorry.
The recent streak is
streak of the inability to beat. Yeah. They've tied a lot of these teams. Like they tied England and they tied XYZ. But actually winning any of these games is a problem. Okay. So the U.S. now, the United States, Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey will take a break. When we come back, let's talk about the other 3 groups that have had changes now that we know all the teams, next on the KickAround. Just one last segment on a short episode of the KickAround, and we'll lead into Dallas Stars pregame, and we'll be back next week. And to finish up, we will just finish discussing the changes to the last 3 groups now that we know all 48 teams. As you know, all the 6 teams we've been waiting to figure out for a while were all decided since we last talked to you with the playoff games. a variety of outcomes and finishes, drama, etc., etc. We've been through A, B, and D, which are Mexico, Canada, and the United States groups. Let's now move on to Group F, where Sweden, who, by the way, will now be base camped up in Frisco, will now join a group of the Netherlands, the Japanese, and Tunisia.
Mm-hmm. You didn't say the Tunisians. You said the Japanese.
Should I? Maybe.
No, it's interesting.
Is it Tunisian?
Is it interesting that you say?
It's not Tunisianites?
No, it's interesting that you said the Netherlands, the Japanese, and Tunisia. You didn't say Japan. It's interesting how some people refer to certain countries certain ways. That's all.
Okay.
That's the beauty of World Cup. We all talk geographically in different and varied ways. It's all about, it's just interesting.
I love World Cup nerd Andy. By the way, Sweden, who qualified under Graham Potter.
Yeah. Who scored all their goals?
Gyökeres.
Who's a Dallas Cup alum?
Gyökeres.
Who's going to come play World Cup?
Who did he play in Dallas Cup for?
IFB, Swedish team.
Really?
Supergroup. Yeah.
Okay. Did he have that stupid celebration back in the Dallas Cup?
Probably not.
Okay.
So I don't think anything materially changes in Group F, and was never going to unless it was Albania maybe that qualified out of that group. I know Sweden didn't do anything in qualifying, and they got to the playoffs through their Nations League standing, but it's still Sweden. They're still a decent side. Potter turned things around.
If Sweden gets some people back, they could go from being a decent side to a dangerous side. Like if Isak gets healthy and a couple other guys.
Yeah. And this is actually this is not an easy group.
No.
Tunisia is a North African team like Morocco, like Algeria. They tend to do okay in World Cups. They tend to have a surprise or two here up their sleeve.
They've never made the knockout stage.
They haven't, but they've beaten quality teams. They've drawn in World Cups. So it's not an easy game is what I'm saying. Of course, Japan now has uber experience in World Cups. It is like they're just waiting for them to finally have a World Cup where they make a statement. And they're saying this might be the year. Who knows?
A lot of people are excited about the England-Croatia game at Dallas at AT&T. A lot of people are excited at the chance to see Messi or the knockout stages. I'm telling you, I'm excited about the first game, which is the Dutch and the Japanese. I think that game is going to be really, really good.
Yeah,
first game,
sure.
first game for both of them in the World Cup. The Japanese are many ways modeled after the Dutch system.
Are they? Really?
Oh, yeah. Huh. I learned that from Lars. Lars has talked about that quite a bit. So
this in recent times?
No, just kind of the history of it. They brought in a lot of Dutch coaches to help grow their system.
Because it used to be Brazil. That's why I'm surprised.
Yeah.
So
he talked a lot about the Dutch. So, so anyway, I all that aside, I just think that's going to be a good game between two very good teams who play, that'll be great. All right, the next group that we need to talk about in terms of, let me turn my page here, in terms of change, Group I.
Yeah, that's the group of death. And
everything Iraq went through in Mexico, and they get this.
Yeah, I mean, they knew ahead of time. Teams in that path, they all knew ahead of time what they were faced with. And I just look at those three other teams, France, Senegal, and Norway, looking at that path and kind of like not giggling, but like, I don't think any team that would have qualified out of that path would have done anything to this group. They're all below par, extremely below par, and they are among the teams. Iraq, it's who do they beat? Bolivia, and then Bolivia beat Suriname. Mm-hmm. Those are the teams that are in the conversation only because we've grown it to 48 countries. The World Cup. This is the reason we've grown it to 48, or that FIFA has, to give these teams a chance to participate. And here we are.
Yeah, I think this is clearly the group of death for all the things that we talked about. And I can't yet figure out in my head if this new 48-team structure has created a bunch of really mediocre groups, or if actually what we're going to get is a lot of interesting things, because we are going to see teams have to play and get up for these games.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting for a variety of reasons. One of those that you mentioned, we have gotten a few more good teams as a result of the 48, but we've also gotten some of those teams that, like, you watch the Path 1 and Path 2 matches, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they were terrible. Yeah, they were not good soccer matches, no. And then Group K is the last one that had a final change, which is Congo is coming,
right?
And that's a group with Portugal, Uzbekistan, and Colombia.
Same thing. It was either Congo, Jamaica, or Nueva Caledonia, or New Caledonia. And Congo, to me, out of all the African teams that qualified, I think South Africa may not be very strong either, but just Congo didn't look like a good African team. You've seen good African teams playing World Cups,
yes,
and even in the African and the
Cup of Nations.
Cup of Nations, you saw some good soccer. Congo was not it.
I watched the majority of the Jamaican-Congo final, and I thought, oh my gosh, Congo does not look good, and if Jamaica actually just tries.
Well, they try
collectively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they just
try to work as a team, that's their issue.
If
always.
they would just, Jamaica could make the World Cup. This is an easier game than I thought it was going to be.
They had the motivation,
yes,
this and that,
and man, I'm
they
beat
so New Caledonia 1-0.
I'm so disappointed in Jamaica.
They beat New Caledonia 1-0. That tells you everything you need to know. Nothing against New Caledonia, but those are part-time players. They hadn't played a game since September. New Caledonia.
But Andy, you as a CONCACAF match official, you spent a lot of time in Jamaica.
Oh, yes.
Right?
At the club level,
At
too.
the club level and at the national team stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to be disappointed in Jamaica.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like the coach, the interim coach, I know him very well. I work with him. Yes, of course. I knew. Yes.
And they had two of the best kits that would have been two of the best kits in the tournament, and now we don't get them for the tournament.
But they failed for the reasons that they
have plagued Jamaica.
Yeah, they individually they have skill, but when it comes to the collective, they're just not very disciplined and organized playing as a group.
Okay. So there you go. We'll get way deeper into dissecting the groups and making predictions and all of that stuff in the coming episodes as we lead up to the World Cup, along with everything else. We'll do that. Before we go at the end, I feel like we have to address or at least touch on all of the ticket stuff that's been going on. This is the week, the fourth round, where you were, in theory, able to log in to FIFA.com's ticket website and buy game-specific, seat-specific tickets. I tried to get in. I was unable to get through that part. A good P1 actually got through and did a screen capture of him going through and looking at what was available in different games. And at that point, the only tickets that were left in Dallas was the Japan-Sweden game, and also I think the semifinal. In the semifinal, the cheapest ticket was $3,100.
Yeah, which hasn't gone up that much, right? Because it was already very expensive.
Yeah, because they were all Category 1s.
Yeah, it's inventory is at a premium right now.
So I guess part of the question is out there, is FIFA still holding off tickets in different sections that they'll then put on for sale later on down the road? Because there's some theories that part of the dynamic pricing structure is we don't throw everything out at once.
Right. So the question you have is, are there not a lot of seats now available because most of them because they're mostly sold out, or are there still blocks in place? We don't know. FIFA also does reserve a lot of their tickets for their own corporate sponsors and partnerships. So we don't know how many of those have been allocated to that and if any of those will be released in the future. I would say that maybe there's a chance that, some premium seats are released, but who knows? And it's probably stadium by stadium and game by game.
Yeah. The other thing is, and I haven't asked anybody that I know that had already purchased tickets through one of the lotteries. I've been told, and I have seen online, that if you have already, like if you were in one of the early original lotteries and you bought a set of tickets that were in a category like 1, 2, 3, or 4, I'm now told that if you log into FIFA.com in your account, you can actually see the seats you were assigned for.
Okay.
So I haven't done that. I mean, I don't have any. Here's the thing. Yeah. I still don't have any tickets to any games whatsoever. So, which is fine. Look, they're expensive, etc.
Peter.
I know. Look, I'm going to have a lot of fun no matter what, whether I go to a game or not. I'm not too despondent about it, but if in fact you guys that are P1s have had a chance to figure out where your seats are and what games you've been assigned and all that stuff, we'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your experience about all that stuff because obviously it's a fluid situation. And then last but not least, the transit plan has been announced. The trains going an hour and a half.
Planes, and automobiles.
They're saying from Fort Worth or Dallas to Arlington, the train to the center, and then the bus to the lot is an hour. You should plan an hour and a half trip.
Who's
That's local. The local press release.
Plan for it. Yeah, I think that the actual time 30 minutes. 20 minutes plus 20 to an hour, but they say plan for more.
Oh, yeah. I think you're going to want to give yourself a lot more time than that. The trip itself will take an hour and a half.
The usual, if you're trying to get to a World Cup match, any World Cup, that's the usual. That's how it is.
Yeah. We posted a lot of that on our Twitter account. You can go check it out. All right. Thanks to Dixon. Thanks to Dylan. And thanks to Connor. P1s. We'll be back next week, I think somewhere around this time. So check us out then. Thank you, P1s. We love and adore you. Go on out there, get stuck in, and win your 50s.